Good afternoon, everyone. I have with me Charlie Kirkconnell from Cayman Enterprise City. Charlie, welcome and congratulations to you and your team for celebrating 10 years since your inception and the amazing impact that you've had on the Cayman Islands economy.
Well, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here doing this interview with you.
Great. So I have a few questions for you and also just my own ideas around all of the things that we've discussed and the things that we've discovered doing the economic impact assessment on the past 10 years since your inception. And so first of all, I just want to say that, Cayman Enterprise City is a Caymanian project that was created 10 years ago and has had an impact on the local economy of roughly 662 million US dollars over the past decade. And this has come through consumption from salaries paid, construction, real estate, government revenues, and spending in the local economy overall. But these are the tangible benefits that are easy for economists like myself to quantify. But let's talk about some of the more intangible or softer benefits to the social side, to the economy, that I feel are much more important and that I think you've had a tremendous impact on. Because this is a privately funded initiative, and it shows that the private sector can find ways to help diversify the economy without the need for direct and targeted government intervention. And this is truly one of a kind in the region. I don't know of any other entity like this in the region. I think every country in the region needs one of Cayman Enterprise Cities. And so just tell us about how Cayman Enterprise City works as a special economic zone, and tell us about the types of new industries you're attracting to the Cayman Islands.
Sure. And to kind of go back to the very first part of your question and what you were saying about the intangible benefits of the special economic zone and the CEC development project. Very, very important to think about the origins of the project, which are in the 2008 global financial crisis. So, Cayman, obviously, being very dependent on financial services and tourism, felt the impacts of the global financial crisis quite acutely. So, the government at the time, even in 2011, when we first approached the government about the CEC project, they had a number of items that they were seeking to accomplish, but I'll boil them down to the two main ones. The first one being attracting foreign direct investment from new sectors, being and in our case this was the knowledge and technology focused sector. The idea being we do get a significant amount of investment, foreign direct investment in the financial services and the hospitality sector, but this would be a new source of foreign direct investment for the country. And that actually ties very closely into the second goal, which was to create some economic diversity in the islands. To kind of be a little bit of help us have a little bit of a better shock absorber, in the case of another global crisis, which of course we've now been through, with the pandemic. And I'm very proud to say that the things that the government was seeking to accomplish back in 2011, 2012. The sector that the knowledge and technology focused sector in Cayman, which has grown significantly, obviously, since the very beginning, and is now a very vibrant sector in the Cayman Islands, remains so through the pandemic and continues to grow. So with that as a backdrop. We're talking about how we do what we do and the business sectors that we seek to attract. Essentially the government, when at the setting up of the initiative, the government took a look around together with us at the global competitive landscape, and decided that we needed to be competitive on a global scale. Not do this in a limited way or just a halfway. And we put together a series of concessions that made us competitive globally. So when combined with Cayman's tax neutrality, the cost effectiveness and the time efficiency of getting set up in the CEC special economic zone positioned us to attract some of the biggest and most important projects in the world, which over the last 10 years we've done. And the projects that we've attracted, it ranges from everything from media and marketing companies, software development companies, and telecommunications companies, through to companies involved in research and development on natural sciences and environmental technology, commodities and derivatives trading companies, including proprietary traders and investment managers. And then in 2015, together with the government, we introduced the maritime and aviation part of our project. So companies involved in the maritime and aviation services sector may be licensed into the special economic zone as well. So it's really quite broad. It's focused, but it's also quite broad, enough to the point where we can attract a significant number of companies and make a significant impact on the local economy. We're now approaching 300 companies set up in the zone, and by the end of the year, we hope to be well north of the 300 company count.
Wow, that's a lot for a small country. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And it's so amazing that these industries that you're talking about, they're specifically not what currently exists in Cayman, which is largely financial services and hospitality. And by bringing industries to Cayman that have never been, not just in Cayman, but in the wider Caribbean as well, never been really a part of our economies before, you're creating value thereby for the wider society, creating options in terms of career for young people and creating a talent pipeline. And that's one of the softer effects that I mentioned earlier, the intangibles, that I think is so important. And the impact that you will have on job creation depends in part on the education policy and the skills people are trained with, because the skills for some of these new industries are still not readily available. And Enterprise Cayman has begun a series of workshops, right, and programs to teach these skills. So tell us a bit more about Enterprise Cayman and the role Enterprise Cayman is playing in creating a pipeline of professionals that are preparing for these new industries that you mentioned. And what are these industries of the future? And so also, like I was saying earlier with regard to the social impact, this rings or reminds me a lot about ESG, the whole environmental, social, and governance, which so many entities and even governments and regulators are paying, and rating agencies, by the way, are paying attention to. And it feels to me like Cayman Enterprise City is an Enterprise Cayman are really maybe not deliberately or specifically named that way, but really having a huge impact from that perspective. So I just asked you a lot, but yes, tell me about the industries, the skills, and training, as well as ESG.
Sure. Well, the industries, as I described a little earlier, was are fairly broad, but quite focused on the knowledge and technology space. And our job is to nurture first to attract the entities to the islands. So, and we do that through just raising our profile as much as we can, getting out there with whether it's through our website, press releases, various things. The economic impact report that you did for us is a very significant part of raising awareness of not just of the project, but also the quality of it, and the success of it, and why it's important. And then our job is to, and through what is now our Enterprise Cayman not-for-profit initiative, is to nurture young Caymanians and even Caymanians that are maybe not so young but are seeking to retrain into new careers,
yeah.
To help them find a path towards a career in a knowledge and technology focused sector. And the way we do this is there's a broad variety of things that we do, and we get better at it every year. Our Enterprise Cayman initiative has existed from the beginning, and it's gotten better each year as we go, and culminating last year in our basically making it its own entity and achieving not-for-profit status. And the things that we do is, we get into the schools to let the young children know about the things that are happening, the new career opportunities that are being created in the special economic zone that even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, didn't exist as viable options. So basically, getting the mindset that, okay, this is something that I'm interested in. And this is something that I might be able to pursue in the Cayman Islands, where 10 years ago I am looking for a job in Austin, Texas, or San Francisco, or somewhere else. And so we start by getting into the schools and kind of trying to pique that interest. We then offer a variety of workshops to, depending on the age of the children, what we offer will vary. But from 12 through 18, we're offering things like game design workshops, drone building workshops. Something new this year will be a boat design workshop, where we're actually going to, kids are actually going to design themselves a vessel, and they're going to put it into the pool and see if it floats. Wow. All that kind of thing. And really just the idea of to get kids hands-on with something that might click. I'm personally not a technical person, but the people that I know that are, they actually remember the thing that was that kind of
spark.
flipped the switch, and this was the thing that sent them down the path of a career in a knowledge and technology focused industry. So that's part of what we're seeking. Is not just to teach kids skills, but get them involved and find out, is this something that I think I want to do the rest of my life? And then from there, we have a scholarships program, and an internship program, a mentorship program, and a jobs placement program. And all of those things line up together to create that pipeline that for the someone that is interested in pursuing this as a career, this exists. You don't have to, and we help you. Yes, there's things you have to figure out on your own, but we actually will do some things that will help you along your path. And obviously the long-term goal, kind of coming back to the checklist that the chief officer in the Ministry of Finance at the time had at the launching of our project. Knowledge transfer was another of the goals. And for us, that is a very, very important part of our mission, very, very important part of ESG for us. And if we continue to develop this project and we don't, and the people of the Cayman Islands benefit only tangentially, then we haven't done we haven't done the right thing, and we're very focused on doing the right thing.
Absolutely. And I mean, one of the right things that you do in an ESG context, whether we recognize it as such or not, but the fact that you report annually and you take governance very seriously, and now on top of audited financials, you have an economic impact assessment that you present publicly. I think that it's very important for people to hear that part of the story, because I feel like in typical investment promotion agencies that are government driven, people see it as yet another state-owned enterprise that the government throws money after. Of course, this is not a government driven enterprise in Cayman Enterprise City, but the fact that you report annually, I think, is something that everybody needs to hear about, because you uphold the highest standards of governance. And in doing this economic impact assessment, that was one of the things that we looked for and we were pleased to find. And it's really, it makes you stand out on a regional scale, if not international scale.
Yeah, I mean, I remember exactly where I was when we made the decision, or perhaps it was me that made the decision, that we needed to publicly report on the benefits that the country was realizing through the grant of concessions. A very important point that you made on a radio interview that we did after the first report, economic impact report that you did for us, was that the government has governments around the world have many ways to incentivize growth. Sometimes it's by making a direct investment in and out of pocket, out of the government's taxation revenues. And sometimes it's and what was done in our case was to grant concessions, and then allow, in our case, a private enterprise to offer those concessions on to other to businesses and to actually incentivize activity, and then of course that's what we've done. Well, the government and the people of the Cayman Islands obviously want to know, has the government gotten it? Has the country gotten its money's worth? Has it gotten what it bargained for? And there was some questioning of this. And it was 2013 when we did our first report, which was a little bit more rudimentary than what we're doing now, admittedly, but it was important that we got that first report out there. And I recognized, based on some of the criticism that was being kind of leveled at our project, that people need to know, and they deserve to know, what are they getting for in return for the grant of these concessions. And we take that responsibility very seriously. The return on the government's investment is very, very important to us. And in addition to the annual reports that we do, the economic impact reports that we do, something that a lot of people don't know is that I report monthly. I appear before the Special Economic Zones Authority on a monthly basis to update them on what's happening. What are we doing? Things like what's growth like? What's the the Caymanian employment percentage within the Special Economic Zone, and is it growing? And then what things are Cayman Enterprise City doing to kind of promote the islands, because that's a big part of what we're charged to do as well, is to promote the jurisdiction on a global scale. And so I report to them on conferences that we attend, and it's something as simple as a business trip. So all of these sorts of things are part of the governance and oversight, which is which helps to ensure that the people of the Cayman Islands are getting a return on the concessions that have been granted.
Absolutely, and we were able to calculate that the government has earned $22.7 million over the 10-year period that we've assessed, from the activity and the work that you guys have done. This is separate and apart from the overall economic impact that we've calculated. So there are direct and indirect effects in there. So yes, and it is important to report to the people, and it's remarkable that you've done that consistently over time. And also in the economic impact assessment, we took a look at, and we discussed a little bit earlier, some of the growth industries, and that's something I want to talk a little bit more about. The growth industries that Cayman Enterprise City is targeting, and how your outlook compares to the growth rates of the outlook for growth for those industries compare to the growth rates of traditional industries in the Cayman Islands, so financial services and tourism. So for example, the artificial intelligence market is expected to grow at a compound annual rate of 40% over the next 5 years. For the smart contracts industry, it is 25% compound annual growth. And for industries such as smart packaging, video streaming, human genetics, the rates are between 10 and 20% compound annual growth. So this is well above any other industry that we have, not just in Cayman, but in the region. How is it that you're managing to tap into these rapid growth industries in the first place? And how does it create more business for the existing industries in Cayman?
Well, yeah, a big part of what we do is to put together well, the biggest thing that we do is to put together a first-rate platform for knowledge and technology businesses to take advantage of. And we make it cost-effective and time-efficient to get set up, and we make it as easy as possible for companies to run their operations from the Cayman Islands, whatever it is that they might be doing. So we've found that is what people respond to the most, is how
ease of doing business.
yeah, easy to use is a very important part of the decision-making process for businesses, and how that applies to the different growth industries. We get out there with our marketing and attending conferences and so on. In the last 5 weeks, I've been to 3 conferences. One of them, an aviation-focused conference in Geneva, Consensus in Austin, Texas, which is of course everything to do with virtual assets and blockchain. And then I was actually at another conference in Zurich last week, focused on the regulatory side of the virtual asset industry. So we find that to attract the industries of the future, we just need to get out there and spread the word about what's great about Cayman, and how when the CDC Special Economic Zone concessions and the fast track business setup and all of those things are laid on top of it, that it makes Cayman very attractive, and it becomes an easy choice to set up your whatever sort of high-tech business or
and competitive industry. Attractive and competitive. Yeah,
and competitive. And then another very important part of what's happening here in Cayman now is, I think back to the early days when we would have conversations with businesses, and they would say, okay, it all sounds really great. Who else has done this? In the early days, you really kind of, we got a couple of clients that do this and that. But these days now, I mean, some of the biggest projects in the world are operating from the Cayman Islands, and that in and of itself has become a draw. So people no longer question whether Cayman works for a knowledge and technology focused project, but they also see that others, companies that they know, projects that they know, are operating from the Cayman Islands and doing so successfully. Then it becomes then why don't we do it? Why don't we look into doing that as well? And for us, that has been a big part of how we attract these industries, growth industries of the future.
Remarkable. And you know what, Charlie? I thank you so much for the time that you spent sharing this information with us, and so that people have a greater appreciation of just how much Cayman Enterprise City is doing for the economy and for the wider society of Cayman. And I think what you're doing is really going to help shape Cayman's future. When you ask people, what do you want for your country in 50 years? What do you want for your country in 20 years? I keep saying, you want one like Cayman Enterprise City. You want diversification, you want knowledge base, especially when we're small, we're not resource rich, but we're we have people and we have the potential to attract via brain gain as well as via attracting skilled labor. You know, we have that potential even as small, or especially as small countries in the beautiful Caribbean. So what you're doing is fantastic. I can't congratulate you and your team enough. And I look forward to hearing much more of these success stories and these big projects, global projects that want to come and set up right in the Caribbean, in the middle of the Caribbean Sea in Cayman Islands. So again, congratulations to you and your team, and thank you so much for spending this time chatting.
Thank you, and thanks for the opportunity to speak with you.
Great. Thank you, Charlie. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.